Welcome to Boom. We really appreciate you being here, and I want to say that it's my honor to be able to stand up here to introduce our next keynote speakers. 3 years ago, the Lord gave me a wonderful gift, and actually He gave me two in my life, and it's been a forever life-changing experience, an amazing ride, and one heck of an education. So it is my honor to talk about Brynne and Bailye and introduce them. They are the co-founders of TwoAlity LLC, where fashion is a feeling. 2 years ago, and before I go into this, I want to say that one of the things that these ladies have taught me is taking no for an answer is not an option. And case in point, 2 years ago, these ladies attended this event, and when they initially registered for the event, there was the Idea Bounce Competition, and their application, as they'll tell you about, was not accepted. They initially weren't good enough to participate, and really, no wasn't an acceptable answer, so they came anyways. And as chance would have it, they were allowed to participate in the competition. They won that competition, and they are the inaugural REDI Idea Bounce champions for Columbia, Missouri. A year ago, we brought them back, and they gave a presentation. And during that Q&A, they were told by members of the audience that traditional financing in the form of an SBA loan was also not an option. And so I'm proud to stand here on behalf of their speaker sponsors, People's Bank of Cuba, Missouri, Brad, Kim, Doug. We couldn't be more honored to have you here today. The ladies couldn't be more honored to have such a great business partner and to show the world that, yes, traditional financing was absolutely an option, as they will tell you about. So here we are today, and it's my honor to bring Brynne and Bailye Stansberry, co-founders of TwoAlity LLC. Ladies.
First, we'd like to thank People's Bank for being our sponsor today and for being here. They have been more than just a bank to the two of us and to our team. And we'd also like to thank Columbia Business Times for featuring us on their February issue. It was an awesome experience, and Sarah, of all people, she did an awesome job at bringing out our twinness, so to speak. It really portrayed who we are, and she did a wonderful job. So everybody knows we would like to have this go more like a conversation. So if you have a question during our presentation, please go ahead and ask. But if you're too shy to do that, we have left time at the end for question and answers. And so everyone can tell us apart, I'm Brynne Stansberry. And I'm Bailye Stansberry. And we are the co-founders of TwoAlity LLC. TwoAlity means the condition of being two. When we sat down and we thought about our product and we thought about where we wanted to go with it, we thought, well, we don't want to put ourselves in a box. We don't want to be just boot makers or just scarf makers or whatever it may be. We wanted to be able to take our brand into any outlet or industry and put it on any product that we could ever imagine. So we came up with TwoAlity. We're 22 years old, and we both recently graduated from Columbia College with Bachelor's of Science in Business Administration. So where we got started, we actually came up with the idea in a DECA classroom. It was an organization for marketing students. And our advisor knew that we were competitive and said, you guys should do a competitive event as a team, of course. So we decided to do advertising campaign. And the idea behind it was to take an existing product and create the campaign around that. Well, being who we are and wanting to get a leg up on the competition, we decided to design our own product and then put the campaign around that. So we asked ourselves, what do we love and how can we make it better? And our mom will tell you we loved wearing our rain boots, and even through the winter. So she would buy us these woolly socks that had all these patterns and colors, and they were very fun and vibrant. And Brynne and I were always disappointed that no one got to see those fun, versatile socks that we would always wear. So that's where the idea came about for a transparent boot with interchangeable liners. And as we started to go through our DECA competition, we realized DECA judges weren't quite grasping what it was we wanted them to understand about our product. So we created those little boots right there. We call them our baby boots, and they were created in our mom's kitchen, and she'll tell you, she walked in on us and we had them glued to the counter, and she was pretty upset with us, but I think now it's okay because those boots have taken us a lot of places. But as we went through DECA, they really helped people visualize the versatility and the fun and the fashion forwardness behind the boots. And as judges caught on, our advisor realized that people were starting to fall in love with the idea, and she suggested we patent the product. So how to protect your idea or your product? For us, we fell under the patent process because it's tangible. It's something that you wear, you can touch, and you can feel. So the patent process is a long process. We started in the phase called research and design. That's as simple as figuring out exactly what you want to protect with your patent. So for us, that was a transparent boot with interchangeable liners. Those phases took place in high school because we had to research and design for our DECA competitions. Then you go into the initial patent search, and your patent lawyer of your choosing goes through the United States Patent Database and makes sure that there is not a patent that already exists for your idea or is too similar to your idea, because your idea has to be novel to be patentable. So we passed that phase. Then you get into deciding whether your patent is utility or design. Utility means you're going to patent something that you have changed the function of. Design is where you change the design. So Bailye and I fell under a design patent because we weren't changing the function of the boot, we were just changing the design behind that boot. So after that, you go into drafting. That is sketches of what you're going to be protecting. So that was a pretty easy step. We then went into patent pending. So our patent lawyer filed our patent, and you go into patent pending, which we call the hardest step of them all. This is 18 months of waiting. That's the least amount of time, at least when we were going through it, that you are expected to wait for your patent. And you don't know if you're going to come out on the other side with a patent or not. So it's intimidating to think, I'm just sitting here doing nothing, waiting, and we don't know if we're going to get it or not. But 18 months later, at the age of 19 years old, we received our official United States patent status, which meant here's a notification, you're passed, and you're going to get your patent in the mail days later. So we are thrilled for that. Then, as we begin to build a company and look at all the ways that we can protect ourselves, we got into things like trademarking and copywriting. Trademarking comes into our, your logo. That means that we're the only person who can use the logo you see here on any of our products. And then also copywriting. Bailye and I will be designing the custom fabrics to go in these boots. That means that you can't walk into Walmart and see our fabrics on their shelves. They are only for the girls who buy our boots. Then domain names. We have the TwoAlityStore.com. It's currently just a splash page, but as soon as we launch, it'll be a full functioning e-commerce website. Non-disclosures, it's a very simple piece of paper, but it means a lot. You take this into a meeting. Bailye and I have meetings with footwear CEOs or whoever it may be. We have them sign non-disclosures. And what those mean is that what we talk about in this meeting cannot go outside of these people in this room. And it really protects you. It gives you basis for if something happens, you say, I told them this, and it's confidential. Then you go into incorporating your business. We are an LLC, and you file that with your state. And then one of the biggest hurdles we've had to jump is customs. That may not be protecting your product like a patent, per se, but you have to be able to know how to file those papers and get your stuff across the border, or it will be stuck there. So how to pitch your idea. DECA, we look at DECA as our foundation. Everything we did in front of DECA judges was pitching. And so we practiced in high school. And then we like to say we got into the real world and met real people and real business owners. And the first person we met that has been influential to us is Dr. Sean Siebert. And at the time, we didn't look at it as a pitch. But looking back, we now see it as our first crucial pitch. And we went into Dr. Siebert's office, and we couldn't tell him what our product was because we were still patent pending. And we had to sell him on our passion and our drive and determination and who we are as business owners, not as our product. And we were so glad that that was successful because he has joined our team, and he's an awesome team member. And then he introduced us to someone named Mr. Steve Fishman, who's the CEO of Big Lots. And we pitched to Steve, it would have been September 2011. I believe. And it was just a little breakfast, and we didn't know what to expect because this was the first time we were sharing our idea with anyone. We'd finally received our patent 4 days before. It was so lucky. It just happened to fall into place. But we got up and we pitched to him, and he gave us 45 minutes of retail feedback. And it reiterated to us that our product was viable for the market, and he also told us to do everything we can on our own, to not lose control, to try and maintain everything we could so that it would be our business and our product. And that really struck home with us. And as Sean said, our next big pitch was with REDI. And as he hinted towards, our application was denied in the beginning, but he suggested we go anyway for the networking opportunity. And we did. When we came back from lunch, it had just so happened that someone had dropped out of the competition and there was a spot opened up. And so we decided to go ahead and pitch and enter the competition. We had 60 minutes to prepare, and we were nervous because everyone else had weeks to prepare. But we realized that we know our product forward and backwards, and nothing's going to catch us off guard about it. They can ask us questions and we'll still be okay. And that's why we think we won that competition, is because we got up there and we executed and we just told everybody what we know, and that was everything about our product. So after the competition, we got an award, and we sat down and said, what are we going to do with this money? What's the next big step for us? And for us, that was to create our company. Like we said earlier, we sat down and we brainstormed and said, what do we want our brand to do? Do we want to be in this box or that box? No, we don't want to be in a box. So we named it TwoAlity, TwoAlity LLC. And then we said, what's going to move this company forward? Is it going to be just the two of us, or are we going to fill a room full and we're going to push it together with a team? And that's what we decided. Our whole lives we've been obviously a team effort, and we wanted to build our company on that foundation. So we looked at our strengths and our weaknesses and said, what are we good at, what are we not so good at, or what do we maybe not like? And we began to fill the seats around our table to complement what we couldn't do, or what maybe we didn't want to do, and what they were good at and loved to do. So we began to build a team, and what we didn't realize was we were also building a team culture. We know now that when we sit around that table and somebody else goes out and makes a decision, they don't have to come back to us. We trust them to make a decision that best benefits the entire team. So how to get through prototyping, and this was a really big bump in the road for us. We initially faced the problem that rain boots are made out of rubber, and rubber can't be made clear. So we asked ourselves, what are we going to do? And Mr. Terry Culver said, well, why don't we go find a plastics group? They're going to know what to do. So that's exactly what we did. We found a plastics company in Pittsburgh, Kansas, and they prototyped our boots for us. And they went through 3 different stages of prototyping before they got it right. We had issues with clarity. Our first boot had this milky film on it that actually peeled off. I mean, it was horrible. The fit was bad. They finally got it right the last time, but they're not a footwear group. You know, they don't know about fit, they know about plastic. And then our chemical compositions and fusing PVC to rubber. Those were 2 big things that they overcame. And up until this point, Brynne and I didn't know if our product could be made on a production level. And that's exactly what they proved for us. We can now go out to other companies and say, you can produce our boot on a mass scale. And then we want to touch on briefly building a brand. We like to say, tell everyone you know about what you're doing. We try to tell everyone, even random people that'll just come up and talk to us, we'll get to TwoAlity somehow. Because you never know who they might know. It's like Mr. Fishman introduced us to so many people in the footwear industry, and it was shocking that we would have run into those people in Columbia, Missouri. So we also like to use tools that are readily available, like Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. I know that we're really proud of our Facebook because we've outdone 3 major footwear brands in their number of likes. And we've really built what we think is a following without even having sold a product yet. So we're proud of it. And like we say, network, network, network. Brynne and I go back to Moberly a lot to pitch to DECA and help their young high school students. And we also do things like this and with the chamber and all these things. So it's important to let everyone know what you're doing. And during this process of building our brand, we found out that we can't be afraid to talk to CEOs. And that was something that we were like, oh my gosh, they're an international footwear brand. You know, they're on a completely different level than us. But we found out that they're just people too. And our favorite story with this situation is our mom and dad researched to find a injection molding company that could make boots. And they found one in the United States. And so Brynne and I, we shot him an email. We didn't hear back from him. So we were disappointed 3 days later, and so we said, well, we'll just call them, see what happens. So we did, and we got their secretary, and she actually said to us, oh, you're the boot girls. And so we looked at each other and we said, well, why did they email us back? But, you know, we talked for her for a little bit, and then she gets us their head of manufacturing. And we talked to him for probably 30 minutes, and he says, you know what, you really need to talk to our CEO. He'll make this decision on whether or not we can manufacture your boots. So we get off the phone, the head of manufacturing gives him our contact information, and Brynne and I expect maybe a call next week. 5 minutes later, we get an email from the CEO, and he says, let's have a call Monday. So we are so excited. We built up a relationship with the CEO of that company, and now they are our exclusive United States boot manufacturer. So we're pretty proud of that. So, thank you. So Bailye touched on networking, and it's not only important to network locally, but also within your industry. What better place, to learn about what everybody's doing than start talking to your competition and building relationships with them even. We received VIP all access passes to the Platform Vegas shoe show. And this time last year when we were talking, we were just getting ready to go to this show. It's the most comprehensive shoe show in North America with 1,500 brands attending. So we thought we're going to go there and we're going to learn everything we can about our industry. And when we went, I mean, it's girl heaven. There's just shoes everywhere. We thought we would never get out of there, and it took us, we were in there 2 days. We didn't even get through the whole thing. We kind of focused on the boot section or, our target market section. So we went through there, and what that show taught us was a couple of things. We learned that nobody was doing anything transparent in the industry. Not only that, but you couldn't change the shoes you were wearing in the industry. Everything you were seeing, you were stuck with what you got, and you were getting it at a very high price. And so we learned that nobody was doing what we were doing. Then we also learned everybody we talked to says the footwear industry is starving for something new. And we were shocked by that. We thought, well, that doesn't seem like a problem. Everybody has stuff. But what we learned from all of them is that they essentially, oh, we like his shoes, we're going to just do our own little spin of that, and then now they're our own. And so when we were telling people, oh, we have a shoe patent, they were like, what? So it was pretty cool to be able to go in there and show them, we're going to enter this industry, and yet they still talk to us about what they were doing. We sat down with one group, and she's sitting there showing us all of this is our wholesale number, this is our retail number, and we learned so much about how they organize their company to be able to run on the right schedules. We also learned while we were there in February that they weren't retailing for that next spring right there. They were actually there selling for the next fall. And that was amazing to us because we had no idea. And even just knowing that, we could set ourselves on our own timeline to make sure we launched at the right time. So making tough decisions. The next few decisions that we're going to talk about are ones that we like to look at as defining us and defining the company. And our first big decision came to us when we were seniors in high school. And we were supposed to go on this big Europe trip. It was our senior trip, and all of our DECA gals were going, so we were really excited about it. But our parents came to us and said, you can either go to Europe or you can get a patent. And so we said, oh no, what are we going to do? But we decided to do a patent, and that was the first real step for us to say we're serious about what we're doing, and we're serious about taking it to the marketplace. And our next three decisions were with one footwear group, and they're the reason we decided not to license with them. Our first one was Shark Tank. The CEO of a footwear group that we met was friends with one of the sharks, and they said, we'd like to put you on Shark Tank. And so we were like, oh my gosh, this is going to be amazing. So they sent us the contract, and as Brynne's looking through it, she notices something about ownership. And so it made us a little uneasy. We sent it to our contract lawyer, and in a roundabout way, ABC takes ownership, part ownership in your company, regardless if you make a deal with a shark or not. And so we didn't want to be put in that box, so we decided not to do that. And that was strike one against the footwear group because they didn't make us aware of that. The next thing was our samples. This footwear group got us samples from their Chinese manufacturer. And Brynne still makes fun of me today because we get to the office with our first shipment of boots, and I open the box and start crying because the samples were that bad. And that was our check number 2 against the group because they weren't willing to look at other options for manufacturing. And our third one was when we received the licensing agreement. The numbers didn't add up for us, and we didn't really trust them. And that's what it came down to, that they hadn't earned our trust yet. And we had to go with our guts. We decided that's strike number 3, and it's not a good fit for our company. So after that, we realized we were going to have to refocus, and that's when we started to search around and see if we couldn't find either a North American or an American manufacturer. But overall, we always like to say with our decisions that, like we talked about with our team culture, we like to make sure that whatever we do fits into that culture and it feels good to us. Because if it feels wrong, it probably is. Okay, so where we are today. As Bailey told you, we nailed down the exclusive contract with our boot manufacturer. So ladies, the boots you see here, these boots will be the ones that we have for sale in the spring. Distribution and inventory management facility is in place. That actually will stay right here in Columbia, Missouri. Our father and mother and his brother and his wife own Premier Paper and Packaging. They are a paper distribution company, and what they've decided to do, they said, we distribute paper, we could do boots. And so they're gonna split the warehouse and kind of let us expand into some of their area. And so that will stay local, and we're very proud of that. Retail strategy is also established. The one place we can tell you for sure that the boots will be available is the TwoAlityStore.com. The other retail strategy places are in the works right now. It depends on which way we go, and we can let the ladies know where they'll be available. Financials are also in place. People's Bank, they've been wonderful to work with. We've been approved for our small business loan, and we are just thrilled to be working with them. Currently, and the only holdup right now, is the supply chain that we are piecing together ourselves. The liners are going to be made in North America, and one of the biggest things to us is we could have launched a lot sooner. But what we said was we want the perfect product, and we want it at the right price. We can go to a small place in the United States, and we can get them made, but the girls are going to be paying crazy amounts of money for liners, and we didn't want that. The idea behind it was that this was accessible to all the girls. And so we decided we're going to piece together this supply chain by ourselves, and we're doing just that. We also have the final boots and liner samples, as you see here. The custom fabrics, those will be changing. Those two aren't going to be available. But the custom fabrics will have numerous, and we'll roll them out seasonally so girls can come back and keep coming back for liners. Also, like we said, we're designing those custom fabrics right now. And we still are set to launch in spring 2013. Not the beginning like we thought we were going to be, but we're very close. We test the entire supply chain within the next week, and as long as that goes smoothly, we'll be ready to go. Are there any questions? I know we touched on a lot of things, so we're open to any questions.
Have you thought about marketing these or creating these for small, little girls?
Yes, that's in our plans.
People's Bank, his daughter was texting me.
Yeah. Yeah, well, our plan with our boot manufacturer is we got really lucky with them. They're actually going to be doing a children's line as well. So 1 to 3 years, we'll be rolling out the kids line.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Thought about custom liners. I know the sorority
Yeah.
would love to have custom liners.
That's something we want to expand into, and we also want to expand into licensing. We'd love to see, like a Mizzou liner or any football teams, Cardinals. So that's in our plans for expanding once we get started. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I did too. So.
My name is Zachary McGann. I'm an undergraduate student here, and I'm also interested in entering the entrepreneurial world, specifically in fashion. I was very, very curious. I read the article, and I really loved it, and I just kind of love what you guys do. I'm interested in making a unisex bow tie collection. Actually, the bow tie that I'm wearing, I designed, and a couple of friends and I've actually just have one piece of product out. But with that, like it's becoming like now in the fashion world, like, okay, if you can make a design, put it on a t-shirt, it's fashionable, people will buy it. So I guess as far as like the culture and like who the philanthropy and who you want to help out with TwoAlity, how do you guys go about communicating that to the public and making it something that they need or really want?
What we did too is we want to make sure that we did focus groups, and we wanted to make sure we were listening to our consumer. We actually started with the taller boots that you see there, and women were telling us that they had athletic calves and they couldn't wear those boots because they came back in at the top. So we said, well, how can we avoid that problem? Well, we'll do a shorter boot. It still protects your feet from snow and water. So I would say that you listen to your consumer. We would listen to all the girls' ideas. That's when we started to get into, girls wanted camo. And we were like, okay, we'll work on that. Because if they want that, those are your consumers, and that's who you have to cater to. So I would say start holding focus groups maybe in your classrooms. Bailey and I would go to Columbia College and be like, come on girls, give us your advice, And everybody loved it. It was different from the regular classroom atmosphere. Right. So listen to your consumer and also do your research for your industry. Yeah. And for us, we knew that, going into this, that there was nothing else like this. And so I would definitely pay attention to the industry and what's going on there. Anyone else? Yeah. You might want to step up there. I think it's so it feeds live.
Do you know of any inexpensive or lesser expensive way to get a patent?
A patent. Well, you pretty much, it depends. A lot of times it'll be on how much time is spent actually drafting it up and writing out your claims. But it's kind of hard to get around that because even like Brynne and I are about to face our first patent fee. And after you have a patent, then 3 years later, they want to charge you a fee. And then the next year, they'll charge you another fee. And it just keeps going. So I would say I'm not exactly sure about that. I know there are ways to protect yourself besides a patent, kind of what Brynne touched on with the trademarking, the copyrights and things like that.
Non-disclosures.
Non-disclosures. Sure. I mean, a lot of people in the footwear industry don't even get a patent. They just try to beat everybody else to it. Mm-hmm. And that was something we didn't feel comfortable doing, but some people do that with their industry. Mm-hmm.
And one other question. Do you know if there's any place that would do like a contingency type thing, like with a particular business that you would be interested in working with to market your product, or have them market it if they would be willing to work with you to do the patent process and all that? Is there a way to do that?
I'm not sure, but I do know that the fees don't come, like our patent costs around $10,000, but it came at us in small increments. You know, you go through your patent search, that's a small part. You go through your drafting, that's another part. Then you have your issuance fee, is that like the very end, and that's another part. So that's kind of how we looked at it. It wasn't all just boom in your face at once. So it was kind of nice because we could plan for each of those steps.
Right.
So I hope that answered your question. Yeah.
Was it tough sneaking around before you had your patent? Was it tough trying to get people to talk to you? You did get pushback on, no, I'm not going to sign an NDA, go find someone else, and how'd you get past that?
Well, what we actually did the very first time we had the idea, we were still in high school, we started sending out letters to these companies saying, we have an idea, we're getting ready to patent it, what do you think? And they would say, we don't take outside ideas. And so we thought, okay, well then we'll proceed with patenting, and then maybe they'll listen to us. And that's when people started to take us seriously. When we could say, we have this patent, and not only do we have it, but if you work with us, you also have that protection because you're under the same contract with us. That's when they started to take you seriously because they can invest in you and know they were protected. And we got a lot of pushback from like certain footwear groups that didn't want to sign non-disclosures. And basically what we said was then we're not willing to talk to you. I think, and then they started to realize we're not just dealing with two kids here, that they're serious. One footwear group asked us to sign a non-disclosure with them. I think it's a respect thing, you know. If the footwear group doesn't want to work with you and respect your idea and signing a non-disclosure, then they might not be what, you know, someone you want to work with anyway.
Right.
In my opinion.
A patent is a pretty high bar for a lot of people, and it costs a lot of money that we may not have access to. What do you suggest for people who have non-patentable ideas?
Have non-patentable ideas? Well, I would say one of the ways that we started to raise seed capital, as you know, is we competed in the REDI events. And there are a lot of events that give seed capital. So I would start with that, and then if they're not patentable, I would be secretive about it. Make sure people sign non-disclosures, and those kind of non-disclosures, you can get those from like LegalZoom for. You don't have to have a patent, you know, to have a non-disclosure. You can always take that in there and say we don't want to discuss anything with you until after you sign this. Right.
Are the fabrics machine washable?
Yes, they are.
Yes, they are.
Yes.
Any other questions out there? How old are you guys again? Yeah, go ahead. Come on up.
Something that your experience will be unique in is, since you didn't come from industry, you didn't come from business, you came in cold. But there's a lot of things you mentioned, non-disclosure agreements, getting quotes, purchase orders. Just kind of tell briefly your experience on that, learning how to do all those things that some of us that have been in industry for a long time are already used to because we just picked it up as we went. But you had to pick it up all at once.
Yeah, I think what we did is we knew our big picture. Like we said, with TwoAlity, we wanted to be an entire brand and not just a product. But we had to take that in little steps. Like she said, we first won the competition. We got the patent, then we won the competition and formed a company. Then we regrouped and said, what do we do next? And what do we do next? And each one, although we had a big picture in mind, were just small steps to get there. And what we do too is somebody told us to start video diary. You know, take pictures of each other, video each other, and say, write down, what do I take away from this event? What did I feel? And we started to do that as well, just to be able to reflect and really soak in what we just learned from whatever event happened. Well, and our dad was an entrepreneur, and so was our grandmother. And so those things helped us. They didn't necessarily go through the patent process or in the fashion industry. Well, our grandma was, but our dad wasn't. But, you know, those things, they helped kind of guide us through that. And helped us feel like, you know, we aren't alone in this. And we go back and talk, a lot of our friends are entrepreneurs, and they might have gone through something very similar that we're about to face. And we talk to it, we kind of call it our little entrepreneurial support group. And we all just get together and talk about things, and we have whiteboard sessions, and it's a great time. And it's a good support system.
Any other questions? How old are you guys again?
We're 22.
Amazing. Just amazing.
Thank you.
And I know that in the future someday you're going to get that trip to Europe.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for your time. Good luck to you and best of luck to you in your future endeavors.
Thank you.